Good evening, everybody. I'm calling the meeting to order. I'd like to call this meeting of the Community Development Engagement Committee to order. I would also like to thank our viewing audience for tuning in. My name is Chairperson Frank Claiborne, and I'd like to ask Mr. Steve Forney to lead us in the invocation, sir.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the day we had today. Thank you for all of our blessings. Thank you for the opportunity for us to come together, and please give us the sound judgment necessary to help improve the city of Jacksonville. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Welcome, introductions, members and staff, and others who are visiting. Thank you. I extend a welcome and an introduction to you on the Jacksonville Community Engagement Meeting. I'd like to go over the adoption of the agenda. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the agenda? Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? If no changes or addition, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Okay. Motion is carried. Approval of the minutes. The minutes of October 22nd, 2018 meeting have been provided for review. Has anybody had the opportunity to review the minutes? Are there any changes or additions? If no changes or additions, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say same sign. Motion is carried. At this time, we'll go to our agenda for today, for this meeting. The planning board update. Mr. Steve Forney will provide us with an update from the planning board, sir.
I think most everyone's aware now that the only times we get together for the planning board is if we need to send something to the council for approval. Our meetings on both November 13th and December 11th were canceled because of no agenda items.
Any questions or discussions on that issue?
I'd just like to ask one. So that's to say that there's nothing on the agenda for the planning, that you have planning right now?
Routine planning permits,
Okay,
both residential and commercial. If it's routine, we're never called together for that.
oh, okay.
And there are hundreds of permits that are going on.
Okay.
It's only when there's an exception or a special purpose, something that's necessary to send to council with our recommendation.
Okay, I got it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. At this time, Ms. Wright will provide us an update on the 2020 census.
Basically, the only thing I have at this point, excuse me, is that most of you know that I'm a member of Onslow Civic Affairs, and Civic Affairs has been appointed as the complete count committee for Onslow County. And so we're working on our agenda and plan for 2019 because, of course, the census rolled out in April of 2020. So that's a little over a year away. We did discuss in our Civic Affairs Committee meeting last Thursday about committee work, how we're going to divide up the various populations and groups within the county that we want to reach. And committee members were asked to look at that list and kind of step up and say whether or not they'd like to serve on one. And I've already asked to serve on the one that's going to be involved in nonprofit organizations and organizations that deliver direct services to the community. Because those are hard to reach populations. And you really need to have a relationship with them in order to get them to comply with what we need to have done. That requires, most of the time, dealing with somebody you know, and that kind of thing, and have a relationship already with. So there's a lot of work to be done, but I think that we are well on our way. And apparently from what feedback we're getting from outside the regional leadership and the state leadership and so on, that we're pretty far ahead of other counties in the area because we have a committee that's a standing committee. Even though the census is only done every 10 years, we're well prepared to deal with it. I was on the 2000 and the 2010 committee. Most of us were, so we're pretty familiar with what we were trying to do. And we have hard to reach populations that we're trying to devise good ways to get involved with those populations. And I think one of the biggest selling points is the obvious one that for every person who completes a census in a given community, for Onslow County, for example, that person represents $1,623 that come back to the county for federal programs, services, and so on. It also represents $1,623 that is lost when we do not get someone to engage in completing and filing that census. Also, last time, 2010 census, we took a big hit here because of the way they counted military deployed persons. Last time they counted, the person was counted based upon where they were deployed to, not from. And so we lost, oh gosh, in excess of 20,000 people in the 2010 census. We lost, I believe, a House of Representatives seat to Utah. And we also lost, do the math on the money we lost coming back to the county. This time that has turned the opposite way, and they have approved to identify the person as, if you're in the military but you're deployed, where your home. Yes, yes. Mhm. Because you leave your family here,
Right.
and they're using the schools, roads, water, resources, all that. And so that was a point we were trying to make with them. It took us 10 years. We worked on it every year since then.
Do we have a special committee that's taking charge of that particular area?
It's already been done. They've been working since 2010 to correct that because of the losses we suffered before. So as far as we know, it's moving ahead. It's gone through whatever process has to go through to approve that change back to the way we need for it to be. And so right now, our issue is making sure we're engaging with any organization that has access to a population. Whether we talk to you 1 time, 5 times, or 10 times, however many it takes to make sure that that information is completed. So there's some events we'll have coming up, public events, and I'll be sure to get you the information about when those will occur, because I think it's important for people in the community to really see how crucial this is to the fiscal or financial health of the Onslow County area. So.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to Ms. Jackson for an update from the Community Development Subcommittees on the 5-year conventional consolidation plan and analysis of implements to fair housing. Ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Wanted to announce that staff met with the Community Development Subcommittees and they discussed several CDBG projects, accomplishments, events, funding plans, and reports. One of the things that I want to bring to the committee's attention is that we are starting to work on our fair housing analysis impediments plan. So what that means is for the years 2019 through 2024, HUD is requiring us to update our current plan and find through surveys, meetings, reports, and data whether or not we have any barriers to fair housing. Once we identify any barriers, we're required to find solutions to eliminate those barriers. So I am encouraging the public and especially the committee to participate in taking the surveys. There are going to be 3 surveys. One is going to be for citizens. And the other one's going to be for housing practitioners, the people who work in the housing industry. Those persons are encouraged to fill out those surveys as well. And then we also have a gift card drawing. So for those who would like to participate, you can go to the website, www.jacksonvillenc.gov/fairhousing. Fill out the survey and you will be entered for a $50 gift card drawing. Like I said, there's 2 surveys. One is for citizens and the other one's for the housing practitioner survey. Okay? There's also another survey, it's a community needs assessment survey, and another plan that we're required to complete this year is our 5-year consolidated plan. That survey can be found at our website, www.jacksonvillenc.gov/community engagement. You'll have another opportunity to enter into a $50 gift card drawing. And this is going to help provide feedback on how we're going to spend federal community development block grant funds. Now, over the next 5 years, we anticipate getting $1.8 million. So we need the community input in telling us where we should spend those dollars. So please send it to everyone, tell everyone. We're advertising it on GTN. We're going to have a marketing rollout that's going to happen next month. So we're looking for everyone, all the citizens of Jacksonville, to participate in this survey so that we can make a comprehensive plan and submit to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Community engagement now will be covered by Ms. Pamela Trafton. Thank you.
Good evening, how's everyone doing? So the first thing I'd like to talk to you is about our Harmony Grant Program. I have given each of you a copy of the 2018-2019 application. Harmony stands for Helping All Reach More Options Through New Youth Givers, and it is a philanthropic division of the Youth Council. And what that means exactly is I have 12 members of the Youth Council that meet separate from the normal Youth Council meeting. We have a trainer that comes from Leading to Change, which is a national training organization. And for 2 hours, he teaches the youth how to be philanthropists and what does it mean to be a philanthropist. From this training, we have applied for a grant and have received funds that allows the youth to turn around and award grants to other youth organizations that are doing great things in Jacksonville. So the funds come to Jacksonville and the funds stay in Jacksonville. So you'll see in your application that they are interested specifically in, on page 5. So the guidelines for the funding is because this is last year's award banquet. The youth that are sitting on the stage are the youth that actually helped decide which organization was going to receive the funds. So last year we had 5 organizations that received a grant. And from it, this year, the guidelines is your project must have a positive impact on the youth. Because Harmony is led by the youth, they are the ones that are taught the process, and I am there as their advisor, and the trainer is there as facilitator. But the youth are the ones that actually decide who receives the funds. So when you turn in your grant application, they want the applications to come from the youth of the youth organization. Because just like they are learning how to run the process, they want the youth of the organizations to run their program as well. So that's specified in the guidelines as well. What you are applying for is up to whatever program that you have as you're running your youth organization. However, if you look at number 7, they identify a few areas of concern, that being healthy living, helping troubled youth, providing activities for youth, disaster relief, and life skills education for youth. So if you have a youth organization that may be interested in applying for the grant, they want you to take those items into consideration as you're thinking of what program you would need assistance funding. The deadline is February 15th, 2019. So if you have any questions or concerns, you may reach me at 910-938-6551. Also, our youth council, the next meeting will be January 3rd, right after they come back from school. We've elected new officers that will be sworn in at the city council meeting January 22nd. And lastly, I have Country Club Villas update. As you know, we have been in the neighborhood since June to work with the neighbors and the owners. And right now, what our main focus is identifying Country Club Villas as a neighborhood to receive funds, but first we need to identify them as a low-income affordable housing area. By doing this, we are conducting a neighborhood revitalization strategy area survey. I wanted to give you the acronym, but let me break it down. And so what this survey is, we've actually gone out there 3 times now with door to door and have sent out mailing of the surveys themselves, just for those that actually live in the neighborhood to identify their income. We need to identify at least 51% of the neighborhood as low income. We are currently 10 surveys away, so we will be going back out there to do some more door to door, as I'm still waiting on some mail-ins to come in. But if you live in the Country Club Villas area, or you know someone that lives in the Country Club Villas area, ask them, have they completed their survey? If they have not, those are the people that we need. Because as soon as we can identify it as a low-income survey area, then we will be able to go in and help revitalize as we've identified with other areas in the city. So that is my report.
What impact is it on homeowners, understanding there are so many of those units that are rentals?
The impact of having the survey done?
No. Once it's identified as a low-income area, and it, at that point, can be partial rental rehab and things like that?
I'm not 100% sure about the rental rehab, but what we have identified is any improvements that we need to bring to the neighborhood that would benefit the neighborhood as a total.
Not a single unit.
Well,
No,
we can offer programs for rental rehab. We can reactivate that program within our, as one of the eligible activities. We can do homeowner rehab.
Yes.
And we also can improve the neighborhood with amenities, such as infrastructure.
Okay.
So, lighting, that kind of thing. So the whole neighborhood can benefit, but we just need to show that 51% of that neighborhood is low to moderate income. So after we do that, then we can go in and treat the whole neighborhood as a low mod area and put some assistance in there.
And that's
How-
what we do, that's what we do in Haggard Street right now. It's a low-income street from Gum Branch Road down to 24 Highway, right? Okay.
Yep.
That's how we tag it. It doesn't make a difference. It does not make a difference on the apartment complex and the housing rental units, because there is a lot of housing rental units in there, single individual homes, definitely.
How did they withstand the hurricane? Did they do quite well?
Based
There's
on, I was gonna say, based on our just windshield
visual.
Okay.
Yeah.
assessment, they did receive some damage, especially in the roof. So
It's a lot of roof damage.
a lot of roof damage in there. But there are also some property owners that are correcting. But there are some properties that need some TLC.
Because, that's not far from the mall which withstood a lot of damage. And those are all two-story units.
Yeah, if you drive through it, you'll see it was mainly a lot of roof damage.
Yes.
Some fences may have fallen down.
Well, my church is not a roof, there's more than roof damage in my church, but we'll get to that.
Right, from
Yeah.
driving around, you'll
Yes,
see it.
just the windshield.
Just from driving around.
Thank you.
So all you have, Pamela?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dan. Now we get into the part, One City, Our City, My City moment. The advisory committee members are asked to allow a moment to where members may reflect on the One City campaign, which promotes respect, caring, collaboration between all citizens for a better Jacksonville, and to report on actions they have seen or undertaken advances for this effort. Do you have anybody who has any input? Anything to say? I'll tell you one thing, since that hurricane, the piles of debris that were along the roadsides, including the vegetation and some roofs and stuff like that. We're still in the midst of trying to clean some of it up. As I drive around the neighborhoods, I can still see some of that piled up. And there are some people who have been putting out a unique effort to try to get that taken up, because Jacksonville is a beautiful place when you really look at it. I was talking to a young man who hadn't been here 20 years. He came back and he says, wow, it's a big change place. It has changed tremendously. And we take pride in our community. You can see that all over the place. Everything we do, take pride in the community. Does anybody else got anything else to add to the comment, discussion? Gloria? I won't pick on you because you always pick on me.
No, I'm too tired, I just got in town last night.
Thank you.
I don't know if it.
Okay, so we
Just a minute. Ms. Wright was talking here, Tracy.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, I don't know if this would be the same fit, but we did have recently celebrated the Freedom Day
That's
in the
right.
city of Jacksonville, excuse me, in the city holiday. And we had great music from St. Julia. And, oh, it's okay. It's up here on the screen. Really good
Yeah.
music and just lots of thought-provoking commentary and this kind of thing. And I think we mainly left with, or at least I did, with the feeling that I would like to see more participation from the community, particularly young people, because this is all about history. If you don't pass it on, you lose it, and it doesn't take very long to lose it. And this was about, it is about the 13th Amendment, the amendment that was passed to abolish slavery. And how that amendment has been used to assault many issues that are related to that on the modern day end, And I just thought it was a good event. Like I said, the music was great. It wasn't too terribly long, but I would like to see us do what we can on Civic Affairs, who is the actual energy behind it, but on all of our maybe city committees to encourage just people in the community to come on out, and even people who don't necessarily feel like it relates to them or their own history. History has value, intrinsic value, so for people to come on out, learn what they can, why it happened, what application there is for modern day society. And because obviously Jacksonville felt strong enough to make it a city holiday.
Definitely. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Ms. Jackson, do you have something to add to that, ma'am?
I was gonna tell that we do have some highlights for the Freedom Day.
Okay. You put that on the board, right, already? We're now going to items for city council consideration. Does anybody have any suggestions, ideas, policies, or actions that advance the mission of the Community Engagement Advisory Committee? Anything?
We could bring up what we talked about in our community development subcommittee. We had a conversation about things that we'd like to see on the agenda that were proposed by that committee might also fold into this one. The one that I thought about was some kind of a symposium on housing. I think that the hurricane really kind of peeled back the veil on some housing issues that we have in the community because of the storm damage. Mainly, I was surprised at how the schools that we have built, I always was under the impression that schools are the best built because they serve as shelters anyway, and we could not do that because of the category that was predicted. And of course, you can't do much of anything about that, but I just was very surprised to learn about, not to mention the fact that after the storm was over, how many schools were damaged, how long our kids were out because we just apparently are, if we're gonna build schools, you either go ahead and do it the way you should, or maybe back off on the numbers that you build and do justice to the ones that you are creating. Because you don't want our children in danger, and they are multi-service. A school, any school in a community is built to serve the entire community, one way or the other. Could be special events, meetings. We've had schools that churches have used for services. And the bigger issue, of course, is that we still have so many displaced people. We still have people who have never gone back home. They've been out of their homes since mid-September and haven't been able to get back into them yet. And we had, in one organization I'm involved with, the state office was willing to send volunteers here to help us process applications and work with people and so on. And they were prepared to house the volunteers in hotel rooms locally, and the nearest hotel room they could find was Rocky Mount. And I said, well, I don't think it's gonna serve us very well for you to have a 2-hour ride down here just to get to your work site, and then you gotta cart them back home. But it's because they were all full of displaced people, workers and so on. So just, this conversation is not going to work through email, at least in my opinion, through email, texting, a 1-hour meeting, something that would run maybe from 9 until 3 and have anybody who's interested to come and just express their opinions about what happened, good and bad. Because I think the city did a wonderful job on many levels, but
Yeah,
there were
what-
some gaps there.
What
that,
assets they had, they did a good job.
Yes, absolutely. And being a part of the Bayshore Estates group, you know, that we have been working with the city for several years, I see the real value of people being involved in the city and coming to say something about how they feel and what's going on. And housing is just a need for everybody, I don't care who you are. So, because there are people who have money and jobs and ordinarily would be doing fine, who are struggling because they don't qualify for any help, they can't get any, and yet they're, you know, they're really struggling with no place to live, and still. So, just some kind of a community event about housing.
I would think that, this is just my opinion, since I am helping write the emergency operations program for the city. I can tell you this, it breaks down to 2 primary systems, pre-mitigation and post-mitigation, okay? Pre-mitigation is how do you prepare your community for an eventual hurricane or some entity comes up like that. Well, I can just tell you right now, we weren't prepared. As I travel up and down the roadways right now, and I take a look at the woods over there, there's trees all over the place. So immediately when the rain swamp hits and it hits a crossroad where it can't get it, it floods back. That's what happened to a lot of communities, okay?
Oh, okay.
Number 2, evacuation plan was not in existence. They didn't realize once the road network disappeared, nobody can get out. And building road networks that are at the level of your farm fields will always inhibit you from doing that. So those are things, some of the simple things we need to take a look at. But I'm not here to criticize anybody. This is a town that comes up and it's gotta learn the hard way. It's going to.
But that's what I mean about having a conversation like that. You just expressed a couple of things that I never would have crossed my mind. And yet, you never know who's in a position to do something about an issue.
Well,
But we have to talk about it.
it was a countywide evacuation because there was no structures here that were stable for a 4 or 5. Now, best learning point I could say on those, we know we're going to have to build some new schools.
Yeah,
We know that.
$125 million worth.
All we have to do is take a look at what happened to Moore, Oklahoma about 5 years ago. And they lost 2 schools, had casualties, but when they rebuilt those schools, they built them to withstand
Tornado.
an F5. I've been there.
Yeah.
You know, I had good friends that had to rebuild their house.
Mr. Chairman?
That's money, but
It's worth it.
it's gotta be sometimes us talking to both school board and county commissioners to invest the money
And
to
staff,
build that.
and I can tell you that staff, we have already compiled some of the items that we need to address. I know that staff have been talking with management about, getting with different entities, the county, with the code, with the schools and all that, to see who should be at the table so that we can plan, an after-action plan since we had the hurricane. So there have been talks, going around.
We have written an after-action plan of the staff's capabilities.
Yes, they have already have that written and compiled. So they're doing the next step as far as who should be at the table to decimate that information out and make it a strategic
We
plan.
were very fortunate, ma'am, and not to avoid at least a category 3 or 4 or 5 hurricane here, because I think we would have really had some severe thing. I was talking to an Army Lieutenant Colonel, Reserve Colonel, who went down to Mexico Beach, Florida. And him and I were writing the same program for the University of Kansas. And he said, the pictures that were on TV did not do justice to what really transpired down there. He says, most of that stuff was toothpicks when they got through, nothing there.
Well, Tyndall Air Force Base too.
And, Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure for note purposes as well, was there anything that we needed to present to City Council that's going to advance the mission of the committee? So everything that we talked about, was it something as a general, or is it something that our committee needs to present to City Council? I want to make sure that was identified.
I think we were discussing just additional topics that could be added to it. For instance, the structure of the facilities, infrastructure.
Maybe we're not the ones
I was
to
gonna say.
input it as committee,
Right?
but what we do as citizens,
Right.
and even in our transcript, which does go to them.
Because
that-
and the reason I ask is can you bring that slide back up? The council consideration, that one is primarily for us as the committee.
Correct.
So if there's anything based off our mission statement where we're talking about enhancing our engagement and communication with the citizens, if there's anything that we need to address as well.
Well,
So let's see
I
if
will
there's
tell you
anything.
this, ma'am, I talk to a lot of citizens, okay? I sit down there and I talk to people and I ask them how they're doing, the effects of the hurricane on them. And I'm still hearing the same thing, that I'm not getting support the way I need to get support to take care of my house, or I can't get back into my house. I'm hearing a lot of that, okay? And I'm pretty sure the councilman who sits down here is probably hearing 3 times as much as that, okay? So yeah, there are people still hurting out there pretty big, okay?
And I guess with this being a community engagement committee, I don't know, that's exactly what I see, is that it is our charge to be a liaison between the community and city council. That's, I think, unless I'm wrong, I see that as our purpose. And so whatever the issue is, that's why I was saying that when you talk about I'm talking about a symposium on housing, I'm not just talking about disaster recovery relief and looking at units, at divisions or whatever. I'm talking about a discussion about housing. There is not enough housing stock in this county. There certainly is not enough low-income housing stock. There are people who, Section 8 housing, we have people who have vouchers and no place to take them. We have a situation where we're getting ready to do a complete, point-in-time count of homeless. We have never been able to get any money in this community to address this issue because supposedly there are no homeless people, or not enough to justify any significant infusion of funding. And yet, how is the school system keeping up with hundreds of kids who are identified as homeless, and then this count tells you there are none here? These conversations have to happen.
Right.
People who need transitional housing. We do have a couple of, one shelter is not working right now, will be opened up again, hopefully. But the one that is functioning has never been able to go anywhere near touching the people who need emergency shelter.
Right.
And yet we don't seem to be talking about that. I'm talking about a person or woman, man, whatever, domestic violence situation, has been married for 15 years, gets out of that. She cannot be ready to go out to the world and do anything in 45 days. It's not possible. And yet we have no facilities that address those issues, and there are communities that do. And given the age and the transiency of this population, those are the kinds of things we need to be talking about, because you can't do anything about them unless you start talking about them. People who have, there are just all kinds of issues where housing is up underneath all of this. And until you come together and have a cross conversation with neighbors, people you see, elderly, young people, displaced teens, kids, there just goes on and on and on. And at the underneath this is, I have no place to live. And unless we get together and discuss it on some reasonable level,
I would say that's
we will never
probably
be
one
able
of
to address it.
one of the priorities in this particular community. But you have others that also impact up in this community. For
Yes.
instance, the drug issues that we have right now that are really saturating the county, the city, okay, and the state. And it's really putting a big strain on all social activities in
Yes.
town to support that, okay? So we know we got a housing issue, we know we got an educational issue, we know we have an infrastructure issue. All that takes money and time. Those are things we need to bring up for discussion and lay on the board's feet. And hopefully they'll figure out how to compensate on that. But it's, all we can do as citizens here is identify, codify, and present. That's all we can do.
So
Okay, any other discussion on this matter?
I would like to put on the
It's great.
agenda, no,
Agenda.
You talk,
for the next meeting for the chairman.
I was just
It's-
gonna cover that, ma'am.
Oh, big boy?
I was just gonna cover that.
Oh, okay. I thought you asked if we had
No,
anything that was.
I was asking to finish this conversation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, things for city council, and I think
Okay.
housing symposium, if anything, would be the most appropriate.
Yeah,
That's for Jacksonville, but it's far larger than Jacksonville,
It
so
is.
if there would be some way to have the commissioners involved also,
Sure.
and for that matter, even some representatives from the
Right.
base, you know, because
is
they
there people
they
out there too?
voluntarily displaced 500 people that had to go and find housing. And most of them, based on the ones that I know that were using that program, were retired and actually in their 70s and above. So we're talking about displaced seniors.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I was just gonna say the same thing that you're talking about. I talked to the social worker that works for the school that my son goes to, and we have mothers and children living in cars. And so what we did was we gathered up clothes and stuff and we took it to school. She represents 3 schools, where she had 90 families that was displaced. But the ones that was living in the car, we had one I saw that was at school. He had nothing but short pants on. So that day, when I took up all these clothes and all this stuff that we had up to the school for her to give, you know, so she'd have something to give them. Because she had nothing in her office, but she said she needed sweaters and coats because it was during the time when it was real cold. So I made sure we got them there then. But anyhow, one little boy came in and he had on a pair of short pants and some flip-flops. And she said, "Is that the way you dress?" She said, "That's all I have, ma'am." She said, "Well, go in my office." And it was just so happened, I took the clothes before he came back to school because they were out, so. But there are a lot of them living in the cars, and she said,
Definitely. I sit on the board
I'm gonna
for
call
Sandy
my name.
Run Apartments, okay? I sit on the board for Sandy Run Apartments, and we had to evacuate 30 families. Because what happened is when the roof blew off, we didn't realize we had asbestos abatement stuff still in there. So we had to evacuate people. Now try to find 30 apartments or 30 things in there for people to do.
Exactly.
You can't do it. So yeah, believe me, everything everybody said here, I've experienced it personally as a member of a board, and sitting down just talking to people. The thing that we need to get down is how we're gonna all address this issues as a community. Because it's just more than individuals sitting here or a representative or a city councilman or county commissioner. Because he's only one vote. He's gonna have to have support of the community to do a lot of this stuff. And it's gonna be painful. It's going to be painful for all of us.
probably have to have a town hall meeting then.
Or whatever, I don't care what you call it,
That's
quite
what we had on
frankly,
base?
it's just a concern I have had for a long
Say
time.
a
I mean,
community meeting.
you know,
It's
food,
not-
clothing
it's
and
not
housing.
over. This
Yes,
is not over.
it's
Yeah.
not. And we have people who have not recovered from Matthew, here comes Florence,
That's right.
and heaven forbid, but I mean, you know, the reality of it is, we live in an area where this is
Every 9
a
months.
regular concern for
Every
our
9
community.
months, you recharge the cycle, okay? So you just got through Matthews 2 years ago. You had Florence, okay? And now you're probably gonna have something 9 months down the road
But they
because
already got one out there coming up
some
the
kind of
Atlantic
cyclic
coast.
weather pattern is hitting us. So
Another
the issue
hurricane.
is, how do we sustain ourselves now? Because the city will have an officer sits down there and says, okay, you're a Matthew customer, we take care of Matthew customer. Now you're a Florence customer. And this is Title X out here is coming down the road 9 months away. Once you get through one, you just reconk and come on back the second time. And that's what's happening. We're not mentally prepared.
Yeah.
When I go out driving on North Thompson, I look out there and says, do I want to buy a house out here? My insurance bill came in the other day, it was 20% higher. My insurance bill. I just got my weather insurance thing today. And luckily I keep flood insurance. But a lot of people can't afford to do this.
And it may be that, and we have to start having conversations about whether or not people can rebuild on the same property.
That's true.
You know, because FEMA, unless they're printing in the basement, and between all the things we've seen just in 2018, Florida, here, California, how much can FEMA do on its own to deal with these situations? And what decisions do we need to make?
I think we
Looking
got it.
down the road 20 years, not just one summer, but 20 years, and we have to have a conversation about these things.
I think we can move on from here. I think we beat this thing to plowshare right now. Next agenda, we can add some of these items to the next agenda. Pamela, I guess we can add Ms. Jackson.
Yep.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments for consideration on community awareness? I guess we've all been talking about that lately anyway, so I presume we talked that one to death.
I just have one quick, and this might not apply, I don't know, about the livable neighborhoods, you know, that we've been part of. I just wanted to say for our record that we had, our Bayshore Estates group had our Christmas celebration, and our staff members came, and we were glad to have them there. We're building on that and hoping more people will come on out, but I would say to the audience that's listening, you know, that if you are part of a neighborhood or community that is approached by the city, to consider being a neighborhood that they work with, I would absolutely highly recommend that you do it. There are any number of advantages to having that relationship with the city, so I certainly recommend, and we build up, we're 4th year now, I guess. Time goes by so quickly.
Yeah, because you were in existence prior to me, and I'm
yes.
going in my 2nd year.
Okay. But they're very happy to have the two of them, Tracy and Pam, as a continuing ally, and so I just wanted to make sure we recognize them for their ongoing
Appreciate
support.
it, ladies. I know they're hardworking ladies.
Livable Neighborhoods Project.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Key dates. Planning Advisory Board is 14 January. I presume that we're talking about, is that
So what, if there's an agenda.
if there's an agenda? Yeah, well, I can think of $125 million agenda. I don't get it now. Public
But it's
info-
probably a routine permit.
Routine. I hope your tax is ready. Public information meeting, Living Hope Christian Church.
It's going to be at 6 p.m. I invite the public to come out and give their input in all of our 5-year consolidated plan, our annual action plan, and our fair housing plan. Please give your input and help us to determine where we should spend our CDBG funds over the next 5 years.
City office will close, that's Martin Luther King Day? Is that what that is, the 21st?
Yes, sir.
Home buyers education course, Ms. Tracy, I guess people attend that, right?
It's going to be scheduled for January 26th. It's going to be on that Saturday. It's from 8 to 5. You're gonna want to attend this course because you're gonna learn the comprehensive and the total process of home buying process. We have lenders, we have realtors, we have financial coaches, we have inspectors. So if you're interested in learning the process of home buying, please call us at 910-938-5286. Cost of the class is $10, and you can register for that class. Class size is limited, so please call if you need to get this class, especially if you're trying to qualify for a home.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
And Tracy, the screen says the 28th, but
It's the
it's
26th.
Okay.
Yes.
The public information meeting at the church on the 17th. Oh, that's the one we were at, right? Oh,
This is the second
This is
one.
the second one. This is
this will
the,
be the second one?
yes.
Same
We're
place.
gonna do everything we can to try to access the
That's what I was
public.
gonna ask, so we can pass the word.
Yes.
And what time again?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.?
What church?
It's got the Living Hope Christian Fellowship Hall,
Mhm.
and it's at 1310 Hargett Street.
Oh, okay.
It's right next door to the place that used to be a gas station there on Hargett Street, that big church.
Close to
The one that didn't get
Social
blown down.
services.
Yeah, down that, close to that road you turn, go down to
Thank you, Ms.
DSS, same thing.
We was there.
Wrong building.
The nonprofit board conference, who's in?
Yes, so the nonprofit board conference is our annual board training. If you are a nonprofit, if you work with a nonprofit, if you are a director of a nonprofit, if you're a staff member of a nonprofit, or if you're just interested in learning about nonprofits, this is our annual conference training. It is a 1.5-day training. The 31st, we start at 8 a.m. with registration and we go until 4 p.m. We have some dynamic speakers lined up. You have an opportunity if you are over financials for your nonprofit. We do have a class that teaches you how to read your nonprofit financial statements. It's dynamic. There's 4 different trainers. Lunch is provided. It is free, but it does require registration. And you can go to the city website and register through the website as well. And on that Friday, February 1st, it is a 1-day training until noon. So it's only a day and a half of training.
Day and a half, 31st to the 1st.
And it will take place at the Jacksonville Commons Recreation Center. If you have any questions, you may reach me at 910-938-6551. And this training is in partnership with United Way and UNCW's Keynote and Coastal Carolina Community College.
And both days will be at the Commons.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is at the Commons, okay. Got it, thank you, ma'am. Let me see, the next meeting is 4th Mondays and even numbered months at 6 p.m. So I presume since January is an even numbered month, it's gonna be when?
February.
February.
Okay, February, so here it is. February 25th to April 22nd, okay, I got it, right. Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns, issues? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes our meeting.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Yes, ma'am, motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, right on time. I thought we were gonna get bogged down there, and Ms. Jackson was really giving me the look. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I've been writing. The problem with most emergency operations program is, there's a natural course to it, which is a hurricane, tornado, et cetera, okay? And there's a non-natural course to it, which is cut the electricity, water, communications off, and guess what you got? You have the same thing as a natural one. The only difference is it's man-made versus non-man-made. So there's some issues there. But you want an expert on it? I'm an expert on it. I'm writing one for the University of Kansas right now.